Imagine walking into your house and suddenly feeling like the hallway had stretched to 100 feet long, or looking down at your own hands and watching them seem to swell to the size of beach balls. Imagine looking at your spouse across the room and watching them shrink to the size of a Barbie doll. While you know perfectly well that's impossible, you aren't dreaming, you aren't hallucinating, you aren't psychotic. In fact, your eyes are working just fine. The problem isn't what you're seeing. The problem is how your brain is interpreting what you're seeing. Today, we're exploring one of the strangest neurological conditions ever documented. It's called Alice in Wonderland Syndrome, a syndrome that makes reality itself look like a carnival funhouse. Welcome back to Strange Mind. Hello, strangers. I'm Dr. Amy Busing.
I'm Viking Cat Lady.
And today we're diving into one of the most surreal disorders in medicine. It's called Alice in Wonderland Syndrome, which is such a mouthful. So neurologists usually shorten it to AIWS, which is also sounds very inelegant. AIWS. If you haven't heard of it, you're not alone. Many physicians will go their entire careers without even seeing one case of it. But researchers believe it's a lot more common than we think because many children experience episodes and never tell anybody. I had something weird when I was a kid that used to happen all the time. If I went down like on my hands and knees and tried to look at the room upside down, then it would like
spin, right?
It would do weird things, like it would distort a little bit.
Huh.
But I don't know if that's because I was changing I don't know. All right, well, we'll see if you haven't. But I mean, can you blame these kids? Like, imagine you're an 8-year-old and you see your gerbil's head expand to the size of a watermelon.
Right.
Your parents are not going to believe you.
No.
Teachers and kids, if you told them, they'll just kick your ass after school.
Right. But does it happen more in kids?
It does. It's much more prevalent in kids, and I'll explain why. But needless to say, a lot of people don't report these things, especially if they're fleeting. So why do they call it Alice in Wonderland? The name comes from Lewis Carroll's classic 1865 novel, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So you remember in the story, sometimes there was the potion that was like, drink me, and she like got big or small, right?
So trippy.
Yeah. Rooms seemed distorted, objects appeared larger. So for years, readers assumed that he just had a wild imagination, but then neurologists noticed something fascinating. So in the majority of the adult cases, it's related to migraines, especially when you have an aura.
Yes, I've heard of that.
So in Lewis's diaries, he talked about having migraines, possibly with aura, like the way he described them. So they're thinking that maybe he was having Alice in Wonderland syndrome symptoms.
Right, and he's just writing about it.
Yeah, right. How much do you know about Lewis Carroll? Do you know anything about him?
I feel like I did at one point.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff out there.
And just don't remember the specifics.
So his name was Charles Lutwidge Dodgson, and he was a mathematics lecturer and the deacon at the Christ Church in Oxford. And he was friends with the dean of Christ Church, Harry Liddell. And he used to spend a lot of time with his 3 young daughters. So on July 4th, 1862, which is kind of like the anniversary of this, almost, he takes the 3 girls, who are at the time 8, 10, and 13, on a riverboat down the Thames, and he tells the story, and he makes it up, and it's about Alice, who was 10 at the time. And she loved it so much that she begged him to write it down and become a story, and that's how it became a story. He wrote it for her. But the interesting part...
That's not where I thought that was going.
Right. The interesting part is that, he hung out with a lot of kids. And I think he was one of 11 children. And he was always kind of the entertainer or whatever. But he has all these diaries that are pretty thorough. And then right around 1863, there's a few years missing out of it. And this is at the exact same time that he has a falling out with the Liddell family. So there's all this speculation. And like some people say that he had proposed to marry Alice, or maybe the older sister, or something about their relationship. But it's all like speculation. Nobody really knows. All they know is a family member redacted those pages out of the diary. But tons of the photos he took were either naked kids or kids like half dressed. And listen to this. That wasn't even seen as weird in Victorian time. Like I always think of Victorians, it being like
more prudish.
Yeah. But apparently they associated the young body with something so innocent and so like beautiful that you want to capture that. You want to see how young. So I don't know. I'm thinking about like maybe doing a bonus episode about all of it. So chime in if you'd like a bonus episode about this, you know, send a comment on one of the platforms, because I'm curious. I think it's really interesting. Anyway, his episode, and I'm going to post the picture, the famous picture that he took of Alice. She's like dressed in tattered rags, sort of trying to look like a street child. It's bizarre.
But she wasn't.
Right.
Street urchin.
No. So his descriptions were so accurate, again, that researchers thought maybe he was having that syndrome. And think about it, medicine doesn't really usually have cool names like Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. They're usually like named after some dude that's long gone, cop rock, guitars. Right. What was the other one? Munchausen's. Yeah. But, of course, another word for this is Todd syndrome, because some British psychiatrist named Todd wrote the first like long form article about it. So, but we're not going to call it Todd's. We're calling it Alice in Wonderland Syndrome.
I like that much better.
Me too. Okay, so what exactly is it? It's a neurological syndrome that temporarily alters how your brain processes sensory information. So it doesn't affect your eyes. It doesn't have anything to do with vision. The problem starts after the information reaches the brain. So it doesn't mean you're seeing things. So I didn't realize there's a difference between hallucinations, illusions, and distortions. So a hallucination is when you see something that isn't actually there. And you usually don't know the difference between it's a hallucination or not. Like you're in psychosis and you think what you're seeing is actually real.
Happening.
But then a illusion is like when you see something, like you come into a room and have you ever like, you know, there'll be like a coat on a hook and you're like, a person.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing.
The first half second of your brain processing that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then a distortion is when you're totally aware that what you're seeing can't be possible. You like you see it and you're like, this is not real. My brain's doing weird stuff. So that's one of the hallmarks of Alice in Wonderland Syndrome is people
recognize that what they're seeing is not real.
Right. Yeah. So it like miscalculates reality. So it has changes to size, distance, shape, movement, or even the passage of time. So let's talk about some of these. So one of the hallmark symptoms is called micropsia, and that's when objects appear dramatically smaller than they are. So it's like patients will say that their parents suddenly look like tiny dolls, or cars resembled toy cars. Can you imagine? Like, Rocky looked even small.
He always faces away from us.
But the opposite is macropsia, and then everything looks enormous. So, like, your dog would be horse-sized, your bedroom feels like an airplane hangar.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
Like, that would feel more insane to me than seeing...
Yeah, imagine you saw, like, a praying mantis the size of a Great Dane.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
But at least with this disorder, you're not in psychosis, and you're like, okay, something's happening.
Something's happening, because this is not real.
Right. Another one is palopsia, where objects seem much closer than they actually are. So like people might reach for something like it's right in front of their face, you know, or telopsia, where everything seems impossibly far away. So people like describe it as looking at down the end of a tunnel, or like looking through a telescope the wrong way. And some people have distortions about their own bodies, like their hands will suddenly seem gigantic, or their legs will be incredibly small. And then some people think that they're floating. They feel like they're floating. or sinking into the floor. So these are like disturbances they call it disturbances of the body schema, which is the brain's internal map of where your body exists in space. So the biggest misconception is that it has something to do with your eyesight, but it's not true. They also have like issues where minutes can feel like hours. So it can like report time changes or minutes disappear instantly. So like
I've experienced both.
Right. That's what I'm wondering. Like that seems really normal, you know? Like if I'm at the gym doing burpees, I'm like, why is this minute like 2 hours?
Yeah.
But if I'm like hitting snooze on my alarm, I'm like, the fuck? That was 2 seconds.
2 seconds
and now
ago.
It's ringing again.
Yeah.
What's your like, when do you notice it work?
Like just when I'm, goofing off or, just watching TV and I'm just like, oh my God, that was only 4 minutes. It felt like 40. Like
Right.
I'll just be watching something and then start daydreaming about it. And then it just feels like forever.
Right.
Or I'm stoned.
Well, that's when you get stoned, does it go faster or slower to your time?
Slower.
Huh. Okay. So you'll feel like it's been hours, but it's only been like a half hour.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot to text Kyle back. And I'll look at my phone. I'm like, it was 4 minutes ago.
Oh.
Right. Something like that. Like literally 4 minutes.
Oh, I didn't get the name of that, but I mean, it's like time is relative. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But with this one, I guess it's disturbingly so. Another thing that people say is sound gets all out of whack. So like silence can feel distorted or like thick or heavy, or it can feel muted. Like you put in noise canceling headphones.
Yes. Oh, that's a weird feeling.
Very weird. Some patient described hearing a ticking clock that sounded like a giant hammer striking steel, but their ears were perfectly healthy.
Terrifying.
Did that trigger you? What's up, Rocky? Okay. All right, so what causes this? The neuroscience. The leading theory centers around temporary dysfunction in the areas where the brain integrates sensory information. So the major players are the parietal lobe, and that's the region that constructs your sense of space, tells you where your body is, how far away objects are, how large they are. And then there's the occipital lobe, which processes visual information. So normally they communicate elegantly. This is like millions upon millions of neurons are like comparing information against your expectations. And most of the time they're accurate. But during these episodes, the networks become temporarily disrupted, which is just crazy. So it's like, I'm comparing it to Google Maps. Like it's suddenly telling you that like your house is like 3 towns over. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like the information is there, but it's just registering incorrectly.
Yeah.
And patients know something is weird. And that's another like distinction of this disorder. Single most common, I'll say that again. The single most common cause appears to be migraines. Like we said, migraines with aura. In children, however, another major trigger is infection, and especially the Epstein-Barr virus, which is like what's associated with mono. You've heard of mononucleosis?
Oh, yeah.
The kissing disease?
Yep. I knew so many people that had that.
Yeah, I never got it. Did you?
Grade school, high school.
Oh.
No, never did.
Yeah.
And you'd be out of school for like 10 days.
I know. I remember it was like serious. Mono was a serious thing. So supposedly it can trigger AIWS because infection-related inflammation disrupts these integration networks. It's also been associated with traumatic brain injury because soldiers were reporting it when they had occipital wounds, which is like the back of your head. And they were saying this in World Wars I and II.
Thanks.
And then others are the flu, COVID, epilepsy, certain medications, tumors, strokes, and in very rare cases, neurodegenerative diseases. But in otherwise healthy children, it goes away. It's just like usually short-lived. And then when adults have migraines, it kind of just shows up when they're having like either before or after or during when they're having the migraine with the aura. So episodes usually last from a few minutes to perhaps half an hour. but longer cases have been reported. The episode just ends, reality just like snaps right back. So like, I think it'd be kind of crazy. Like you're sitting in your room and it's like an airplane hangar for 15 minutes and all of a sudden you just blink and it's just back to normal.
I mean, and if you're not doing drugs at that moment,
right?
How do you explain that to yourself?
I know. Well, you would think. I would wonder, like, if it just happens 1 or 2 times, then people just, like, don't. Again, my deductible is so high, man.
Yeah, right?
I don't know how long it would take me with Rocky the size of a horse before I'd be like,
I gotta go. I gotta check this out.
So this is, we'll talk about one case. There's not a whole lot of like specific cases about it. Like in all the research studies I read, they're more like compilations that like give like certain things, but there's no like any real significant case the way that there are with some other disorders. But this was just an 8-year-old and he had recovered from what seemed like an ordinary virus and nothing dramatic. He had like fever, sore throat, fatigue. His parents assumed he was getting better, and then one night he just came running out of his bedroom in tears, and he was telling his parents that the room had suddenly become enormous, and his bed was hundreds of miles away, and his toys appeared tiny. He said that his hands looked really swollen, but his temperature was normal, his eyesight was normal, and they did a neurological examination, and it was almost completely normal. And the next day it happened again. Like they go, imagine you with the doctor and they're like, yeah, you're totally normal. Like, I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah.
And this might, I don't know. They didn't.
And how old was he?
8.
8. They
didn't give the date of this, but I don't know if this was like before ChatGPT. You could just like look it up and be like, what is wrong with my child? But the next day, when he was eating breakfast, his cereal bowl was larger than the kitchen table and his spoon started to stretch. So he repeatedly told his parents, like, I know you're not that far away, but like you look this far away.
So he's articulating.
Yeah, that everything's all messed up. So the parents obviously start worrying about a tumor or some sort of psychosis.
Because I'm sure at this point they don't think he's just being some little dickhead imaginative kid.
Right, exactly.
Trying to, piss his parents off.
Right.
But he's actually...
This was in the 80s. Just smack you on the head.
Go play outside.
But within weeks, the episodes just totally stopped, and they had identified that he had just gotten over probably the Epstein-Barr virus or some other kind of virus that initiated it. So it in his case, it just went away. And it's the same with other, even adults. So this one woman gave one of the most vivid descriptions. She said it felt like the whole world had become a photograph viewed through the wrong camera lens. So people were stretched like unnaturally tall, and some became unbelievably small. Some things appeared to be leaning, and then the hallways stretched endlessly.
I mean, these are some far out visions.
It would be crazy to see all that. Imagine
I'd be freaking out. I'd be like, who spiked my Cheerios?
Right, yeah, exactly. Do I have a tumor?
Like, this must be drug induced.
So yeah, I was like, sorry I'm late. My hallway was 300 feet long. Couldn't get here today. I have Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. That's going to be my newest.
I like it.
Calling out of work. So many patients say the worst part isn't the visual distortions. It's wondering when and if it's going to happen again. So children become afraid to go to sleep because a lot of times these things happen at night. Adults sometimes have to stop driving.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them won't go to grocery stores or stores because aisles trigger it a lot of times.
Oh, man.
And it's like, it's not something you want to share. I guess it's like, sometimes people shrink. You know, how do you tell people that? Like, all right, weirdo. Yeah. So it can be very isolating too.
Oh.
But the weird thing is that people spend months or even years believing they're the only person on Earth. And thank God that like now we have, you know, for better or for worse, that we have the internet.
Sure.
Because imagine back in the day before you could check and you don't want to tell anyone what's happening because you don't want them to think that you're crazy. But at the same time, it's just like so fleeting that it might not be messing with you enough to like actually, and then you go to doctors and they do tests and everything's fine. Like,
Yeah.
It must be just incredible.
To not have anyone else to relate with.
So one of the biggest mysteries is that they don't actually know how common it is, because things are usually really brief. If it goes away, they won't follow up and get treatment. So some studies has found that as many as 15 to 30%, which is a lot, of adolescents report experience at least one symptom. So maybe not the whole full-blown syndrome, but like at least one symptom in their lifetime.
That's crazy. That's a large percentage.
That's a really large. But then it's much smaller for people who have the ongoing syndrome. And there's only been a few hundred well-documented cases in the literature. But there's probably going to be more research now that people are coming forward. Now people know what it is. But the average age of onset is between 5 and 13 years old. And adults can develop it, especially with migraines, epilepsy, or other conditions. But like, remember how we were talking about in OCD, how kids do more OCD behaviors? Mm-hmm. It's similar. They think that this is more common in kids because their brains haven't fully developed yet. So those like functions might not be, set in stone yet. The link between the parietal and occipital lobe is called the temporoparietal integration system, and it's not even fully stabilized until adolescence. Mm-hmm. So it's like if you get a fever, it might like throw off your brain functioning.
Oh, yeah,
way.
absolutely.
So women and men are affected at roughly similar rates, although it's so accompanied with migraines, and women have more migraines more frequently. But in the study I read, that was like a compilation. I think it was like 55% men. So I didn't see that in the other research. So the good news is it's not dangerous. It doesn't damage the brain. Most episodes resolve on their own in 1 or 2 minutes. The real issue is what's causing it. You have to go through all these tests. I mean, I guess if you have a migraine, it's pretty cut and dry. But for children, it's likely viral. And for another person, it could be a migraine or epilepsy. Yeah. So the treatment is treating the underlying cause. There's no like treatment for those actual symptoms other than, treating the migraine, for instance. Okay. So what they've found in a lot of cases is the most important treatment is reassurance. So imagine thinking you're losing your mind for so long and you finally go and get tested and they say, no, these are just these symptoms that are associated with that. And the relief is huge and it tends to really drop the anxiety. And it made me think of that episode of Auto Brewery when the guy finally got the diagnosis that your gut is making alcohol. Oh, yes. And that was like such a relief to remember getting DUIs.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. What a relief to know that.
There's a disorder where people can get drunk without drinking alcohol. It's called Auto Brewery. And if you're interested in hearing that, you should join the Stranger Society because that's where we have really cool bonus episodes. The bonus episode this week is going to be about LSD and how similar those effects are to Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. So go to strangemindpodcast.com and join up. So here's some final thoughts. Alice in Wonderland Syndrome reminds us of something we rarely think about. We assume we experience the world exactly as it is, but we don't. Our brain is constructing reality from millions of pieces of incoming sensory information. So every face you recognize, every object, they're all interpretations created by an astonishingly complex network of neurons. Most of the time, your brain gets it right, but every once in a while, the system glitches and the world becomes Wonderland.
Yes, it does.
Is it weird to say I kind of want to have some?
I kind of do too.
Now that I know what it is and I know it's fairly safe but just like a few splinter episodes. I don't want to. Nothing chronic.
Yeah.
It's not like
at the time and place of your choosing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if I'm in a safe environment.
Yes.
Yes, I don't want to have it out at a festival. I will tell you, though, that we see, these disorders are remarkable. They're crazy. But, really what's crazy is that our brain gets it right 99% of the time.
Yeah,
with
that's a good point.
So much stimulus and so much going on. That's the more amazing part. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow Strange Minds so you don't miss any, and follow us on social media, rate the podcast, do all the things, please, and join up the Stranger Society so you can hear some cool bonus episodes.
And see some Pomeranian butts.
And there's a palm butt.
We told you.
All right, over and out.
Peace out.